Baker Mayfield traded yesterday. The speculation in some circles was the Browns had some sort of indication what the suspension of Deshaun Watson would be, and that kind of prompted the trade of Baker Mayfield. It was put to Mike Silver on Colin Cowherd's podcast, that very question. Here's Mike Silver on, did the Browns know that Deshaun Watson was going to get a lighter suspension, that being the reason that they traded Baker Mayfield yesterday?
They could, but I also think if you're Cleveland, you made that trade for more than 2022. Clearly, you made that trade thinking we just got a guy for a decade or more. We're willing, players in the locker room don't want to hear this, but we're willing to sacrifice 2022 if it means having Deshaun Watson, good to go after that. I also believe it had gotten so toxic with Baker that they, this whole notion that, we might not have Deshaun, let's make up with Baker. And dude, that wasn't happening. Baker's not the type, first of all, that partly because of his edge and partly because he's smart, you're not going to go to Baker and be like, buddy, we love you, man. And I think they probably like Jacoby Brissett enough that they're thinking, look, if we have to play 8 games with Jacoby Brissett, if we have to play 17, if we have to play 6, we're just going to do it. I think it's bigger than that. And really, the Deshaun Watson hijacking of an offseason, think of the ripple effects. So the Browns ended up breaking up with Baker because of their successful pursuit of Deshaun. And really, had they not succeeded, it probably would have happened anyway. It was that bad.
And with that, let's welcome in Quincy Carrier. And Quincy, that is in truth a fact that the Browns' relationship with Baker was fractured when they went after Deshaun Watson, before they got Deshaun Watson. So they were likely going to move on from him. The other part of that, let's back it up. It's very interesting. The more details that come out, the more and more you kind of scratch your head with what the NFL is trying to do here.
Yeah, there's a lot to cover there. So with the NFL, I've made it a point to try not to guess what the NFL is doing. I have witnessed this from a fan's perspective with the NFL and how they go about these suspension processes. It's not necessarily the most sound thing. They're not necessarily the most competent at it. And that competence doesn't always indicate what the suspension is going to be one way or the other, right? A lot of incompetence was exhibited with the Josh Gordon thing. Remember the whole testing? It wasn't within the new threshold in the CBA, but it was within the old threshold, but he still got banned for a year. Remember all that weird stuff that used to pop out about the Josh Gordon thing? So when it comes to the NFL, how they handle these things, it's always been a mess. It's been a complaint about the league office for a while. This does not surprise me that the NFL has seemingly made some mistakes in whatever their argument was to this arbitrator. So there's that. Now, as far as the Baker Mayfield thing, it is hilarious to me that people still think that this whole Baker Mayfield thing was connected to whatever they were. Baker Mayfield was going to be moved on from the second they traded for him, Deshaun Watson, and Baker Mayfield. That's when it was set in stone. He would never play for the Cleveland Browns, at least under this current contract, right? So that was settled for months. Now, also to your point, this thing was set in motion week 16, when he voluntarily at the press conference said that he wasn't going to play the next game before talking to team officials. Just at the press conference, did not involve his teammates in that decision, did not involve his coaches in that decision, did not involve the Cleveland Browns organization in that decision. Remember, his quote from that press conference, which you can look up on YouTube today, is, "I'm going to talk to my agent and my wife about this," not the Cleveland Browns. And then he sat out the next game. One thing to note, remember, Myles Garrett was injured the week before, still played in that last game, right? So there's all of that combined in this whole setting when it comes to Baker Mayfield. And it was just a situation that probably wasn't going to make it to 2022, no matter if the Browns went for Deshaun Watson or not. It was just headed towards that way.